Hi, everybody. Welcome to Talking Animation. And this is the show where we look at indie animation and animated films every month. And today we are very excited because we are talking about one of my favorite of recent animated films in a very strong year for animation. We are talking about the indie darling from A24. We're talking about Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And I'm thrilled to talk about this. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Stanford is here.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you about this adorable movie.
Yes. Yeah, I had never. Had you ever heard of Marcel the Shell?
No.
Me
And,
either.
my niece sent me the YouTube video, the original YouTube video, after I told her I saw the movie. I mean,
Hmm.
after I saw the movie, I was aware of it. And then I heard an interview with Dean Fleischer Camp and Jenny Slade. They were on uh, NPR.
Mm,
I heard it this week. I don't know when it was recorded, but I just heard
hmm.
it. And anyway, um, so now I feel I'm more informed, but kind of in a backwards, kind of went about it in reverse order.
Hmm. Yeah,
How
same
about
with me.
you? Okay.
I never heard of it. Then when the trailer came out in April, I think it was when it was, and everybody was really buzzing about it. And so then I should have done a trailer reaction because I tried to do them for the animated films. But it was just so charming and sweet, and I was like, "Is this A24? This doesn't seem like A24."
It's like the anti A24 movie,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, they do have some sweeter films going if you go back. They have what's that one? The summer the one at the high school movie. All of a sudden, I've lost it, but they do have some older
Yeah, what is
films
that one?
that were I can't think of the name, but anyway, they have some sweeter films, and you have some that have like overall inspirational messages, like Moonlight, or something like that. But I don't think they've ever done an animated film, to my knowledge,
Yeah,
distributed.
exactly. I don't think so either. And this is such an interesting film because it's such a hybrid, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, likewise, I'm just not sure that this seems to me like it's their first one. Maybe one of your well-informed listeners can
Hmm.
get us on. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, and I kind of I'm a little bit nervous of the Spectacular Now. That's the one I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
the Spectacular Now. That was way back in 2013.
I was gonna
So
say that was a while ago,
yeah,
wasn't it?
and so now when we see A24, we think of horror movies like Midsummer or Hereditary, things like that. It Comes at Night. Um, and then they also have sort of intense movies like Good Time. I mean, all these are movies I've never seen, but I've just heard their reputation.
Yes, the reputation precedes them.
Yeah. I did a video on my favorite A24 films, and my favorite is Lean on Pete. I don't know if you ever got to see that.
I'm trying to remember if I saw it. Did you see that at Sundance? Was that one, or
Um,
was it?
Maybe. I can't remember where I saw it. But I absolutely love it. I think it's such a beautiful film. And I think that it's such a picture of America at that time. And Charlie Plummer, I think, is one of the most talented young actors. I think that we're going to see him win an Oscar someday. He's so good.
It's good.
Um,
Yeah,
but I love The Farewell. I think that's a really good one.
I do too. I really like the farewell a lot. Yeah.
That's good.
Wasn't Moonlight A24 too, or is that was that
Yeah, Moonlight is was A24. I also they have some funny, like they did The Disaster Artist.
okay.
You know
Yeah.
that one about the room.
Mhm.
That was pretty good.
Which was yeah, that was entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like my favorite movie, but I liked Lady Bird. I thought that was solid.
Lady Bird was an interesting film too.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
And Ghost Story, that's definitely a weird movie, and it's not a horror movie at all. But David Lowery, he makes really interesting films. Like I didn't love The Green Knight, but it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. And I also loved last year. Come on, come on! That was a really good one from
Yes.
A24. I saw that at the New York Film Festival, so that was
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Hmm. But yeah, they tend to pick more sort of edgy films. They had Men this year, which I hate.
Yeah, I remember you telling. I didn't see it.
Don't see it.
Okay.
That'll be the kindest gift I've given you.
Thank you, Rach.
Yes. But anyway, I don't see, I'm looking at their list. I don't
Oops.
see any animated films on this list.
Yeah.
So there might be a really old one, maybe I'm missing or something, but I don't think so. I think this is the first. And what an adorable, wonderful film to start out your animated journey with.
Oh, seriously, right?
Hmm. And I kind of get nervous in talking about this movie because I feel like we make it sound too saccharine, that it's going to be a turnoff for some people. But I actually don't like it's very sweet, but it's also endearing and touching and moving. And so it's actually not as sort of treacle as maybe we make it sound.
Yeah, as I was watching it, because I went in with actually quite high expectations,
Hmm.
which it delivered on.
Yeah.
But uh, it was. I'm with you. It's like it could come across as like, yeah, too cutesy, but it really comes across as just this very genuine uh, and creative
Hmm.
piece of filmmaking that really it pulls on your emotions, but I never once felt manipulated. I mean, I get
Yeah.
so mad when watching some film that I really feel, manipulated
Yeah. It's not like,
by. Um, this
yeah,
one didn't do
it's,
that for me.
yeah, I agree. It's not something that's like uber sweet. It's if you like Paddington,
Yes,
then I think you'll like this film.
that's a very good comparison. Yeah.
Hmm. And just how like warm-hearted and endearing Paddington is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is a mockumentary film, and like I says, based on they had this 2010 short, and it was written by Dean Fleischer Camp, who's the director, and Jenny Slate, who they were married at the time of this, um, at the time of the original short, and they got divorced in 2016. So clearly, they have like a working divorce, like they have
Yeah,
a
they're able to
positive
keep.
divorce.
Yeah, on this NPR interview I heard
Uh
them.
huh.
Yeah, they've been working on this basically for 11 years.
Yeah.
From when that short came out, and then they've been trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Did they talk
of
about that? The fact that
They
they're
did.
divorced, and yeah,
No,
what they
actually,
say?
if they did, Rachel, I didn't hear that part
Mm-hmm.
because I think I might have come into the interview midway because it just was I just got in the car,
Because I would be curious
and
to know because definitely like conflict and relationship conflict, marital conflict, divorce is a theme in the movie.
right. So I would honestly think that it would be
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, that really is kind of a key
Yeah.
part of what's going on in this film.
Yeah. And then Nick Paley is also on the screenplay credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it starts out where we get introduced to Dean. And he moves into the Airbnb, and he decides that he's going to make a documentary about Marcel the shell because he thinks he's so cute. And
And Dean moves in because he's separated
yes, so
from
he's
his
going.
wife.
Yeah, he's going through a divorce, and previous to it becoming the house becoming an Airbnb, there was a couple that was there that then went through a divorce, and they had a lot of conflict. And so we find out, and that's a part of how the reason why Marcel's ended up alone. Well, mostly alone.
Mostly alone.
Yeah. And so he has his grandma, Nana Connie, there. And I just loved the design of the shells. They're
Oh,
so
I did
cute.
too. They're so cute, but again, not just like I don't know. I never got tired of looking at
Mhm.
it, and it
Yeah.
also the way that they and I what I wanted to hear more in this interview too, Rachel, and I guess I need to do some research. I just love how this film was shot because
Mhm.
it looked to me like, again, that they do that, like the zoom in on Marcel and everything else was a little out of focus, but it looked to me like they had done like these practical shots and then
Mhm.
inserted the little CGI Marcel in it. But it
Mhm.
looked good. It never looked like Marcel wasn't there. You know what I mean? That it was like an afterthought or whatever that he was inserted. Do you think
Yeah.
was it? But although, too, maybe I'm speaking. Was it CGI or stop motion or both?
Stop motion. And so it was interesting. So I on Twitter, I asked, does anyone know if Marcel the Shell will be eligible for best animated feature given the live action backgrounds and the characters? So you have, because they say that I think you need 75% of the film needs to be in animation. And so that I was like, well, would it count if like the backgrounds, which are consistent through the whole thing, those are all live action? And then you have the 60 minutes people, you have the people fighting, you have Dean, you have quite a few. So it's just different than like with the Lego movie, where the
Yeah,
Lego movie has like a distinct section that's
right.
live action. So this is a little bit more of a merging. So anyway, I asked on Twitter, and the director Dean, he actually responded to my tweet, which was fun. And he said, we're
Nice.
eligible, but may have to submit documentation. Here's the Academy eligibility requirements. And what it says is that it has to be more than 40 minutes. In an animated film, animation must figure in no less than 75% of the picture's running time. In addition, a narrative animated film must have a significant number of major characters animated. If the picture is created in a cinematic style that could be mistaken for live action, the filmmakers must also submit information supporting how and why the picture is substantially a work of animation rather than live action. So that was cool that he responded. And
It's very cool. You got
yeah,
him to respond. Outstanding.
I'm still hoping that maybe I can get an interview. I
Oh, I hope you can too.
I contacted his, I guess, agent or whoever, PR person, for rotoscopers. But I haven't heard back yet.
Yes.
But I would love to talk to him and just learn more about the process. But yeah, that was interesting to kind of hear about that they can then submit and be like, this is why our film is sort of an exception to the rule, I guess, and qualifies.
Yeah.
Hmm. And and so they have the live action backgrounds, and they also have some kind of animated backgrounds in the sense of stop motion animation, like you would have with Fantastic Mr. Fox or things like that, where
Yeah.
they kind of set up the little world. So that uh, that was a lot of just fun to watch throughout. And the documentary in the movie, they kind of follow Marcel around as he's like figuring out things, and he uses the honey to climb up the
To climb
wall,
the walls. It's so clever.
and the little tennis ball is his car, basically
Oh, I much
vehicle.
love that.
It was
It's
so
so
cute.
great. So clever.
Yeah. And I just loved the way he was so kind of matter of fact
I
about
do too.
things. Like, I don't like when people say that you never lose things in the wash or something. It's like my cousin; he was never the same.
I know.
It's so
In
cute.
his little shell world,
Yeah.
just these different things. Yeah, it's really, really so.
What did you think of Nana Connie and Isabella Rossellini?
Well, Isabella Rossellini gives a lovely performance. I think a lovely vocal performance, and it's there's so much poignancy. I think in her character. Uh, I
Hmm.
loved 'cause there's so much about uh, the care that they're giving that Marcel and Nana Connie give each other, uh, and also I thought it was so interesting to when spoiler alert when Nana Connie
Hmm.
moves on wherever she goes. I mean, I
Yeah.
think she dies, but
Hmm.
um, there's uh, such a feeling of love and loss in it. And I'm just thinking, and we're just looking at these little stop motion puppets, you know. But again, I didn't feel I was manipulated. And I think
Yeah.
because of the strength of how that character was developed, and again, Isabella Rossellini gives such a terrific vocal performance. What
Hmm.
did you think?
Oh, I loved her performance, and how one of the most hilarious lines in the whole movie is when he says that she's an immigrant. That's why she has her accent, because she came in from the garage. She's from the garage. That's why she has that accent. So good. It's so clever. Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. Loved that.
Adorable.
And it's so sweet when we'll talk more about the 60 minutes thing, but that she kind of basically pretends to be healthy for him, and so that he can have this moment. And you just, I think this movie means more after the pandemic. And I know people say that about so many movies, but just the sense of loneliness on the part of Marcel, and that he really only has Nana Connie, and that's it. And he starts to kind of be friends with Dean, but I feel like that we all kind of experienced that in one way or another. That we were all kind of isolated and alone, and uh, any way that we could kind of reach out to other people, whether it was online or through doing podcasts or whatever, we that really meant a lot. And there's just something about Marcel's loneliness that I really connected with.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in my own way, I did too,
Hmm.
Rachel. That, but again, it wasn't necessarily a bummer, but it just felt meaningful.
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I really think like
Yeah.
endearing is
Yes,
the
that's the
word.
perfect word.
I mean, it's in a way it kind of is similar to Ted Lasso, in the sense that like Ted Lasso on the surface has this sort of aura of positivity and kindness and sweetness, and that's why we love it. But then once you actually start watching it, it's there's layers there,
Hmm.
and they talk about a lot of things: loneliness, depression, suicide, even things like that. And I don't know, I feel like it has a similar tone, actually.
Yeah. Whereas, yeah, on the surface, you think it's like kind of all comedic,
Mhm.
but there's a lot more to it.
Mhm. So
And
Marcel and Nana love watching 60 Minutes.
I just think of all shows, it's just been as perfect, and it's because what's the quote? Because Leslie Stahl is fearless,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and I love that about, such a great thing.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I guess the only thing is that that he probably would have understood that there was sort of a greater world out there from watching 60 Minutes, but uh, it's just so sweet, the two of them watching 60
Watching
Minutes.
60 Minutes, yeah.
Mhm. And I loved all of the clever workarounds that Marcel would make, like the way he gets the fruit off the tree using
Using
the
the blender, I mean, the
blender.
mixer.
Yeah, that was really clever. And the way that he creates his own skating with the dust.
Oh, I love
That was
that.
really fun. Very
Yeah,
whimsical
so
there.
cute.
Mhm. And we find out that what happened with his family, because I forget he says how many shells are required to to keep a colony or whatever
Yeah,
going.
what
It's
was it?
like
I can't remember the name of that
it's
number. Was it
20
20?
or
I can't remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so there's this couple that Larissa and Mark that are at the house, and they get in a big fight. And Mark, there's when they get in a big fight, then the shells would know to go and hide in the sock drawer. That's what they would do because I forget the reason they said that because people don't need socks very often, or and for some reason they
Right.
said it was a
There
safe
was a
place.
reason. I mean, in their shell world, it was a logical
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
And so then what happens is that Mark and Larissa get in this big fight, and then Mark goes and he empties all of the drawers, including the sock drawer, into his suitcase, and he leaves, taking all of the shells with him. And so then that leaves Marcel and Nana Connie as the only ones left and trying to figure it out. And just that whole the scrappy character of Marcel was just again so charming. It was so good. And you felt so sad for him when his family, that whole scene when they show the montage of Mark taking all his family away.
Oh, yeah.
It's yeah, it's intense.
It's intense. And again, not something that you'd expect,
Yeah.
but I think too, Rachel, one of the many things I liked about this film is even though there are, kind of a lot of different emotional moments in this film, somehow they really feel like tonally it works.
Mhm.
I never felt like anything was jarring or out of place
Yeah, I agree.
or maudlin. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe that's not necessarily in the right line of thinking, but
Mhm.
but everything that happens in the movie, I never felt like, oh, please,
Yeah, and I
that's so
think it
stupid.
comes from a really emotionally true place.
Yeah,
Because
that's exactly it.
and things are not like easy for Marcel. I also I love when he's like, "You could help me a little bit here," and he's like, "That wouldn't be the documentary." It's like that's, that was so cute,
Yeah,
um and uh
that's funny.
and then they have like a little bit of commentary about influencers and social media in the movie because they do this live stream. It gets tons of views, and he's hoping that this will help him find the family. Which I don't know who owns the Airbnb, if that's Larissa or Mark.
Yeah, it was unclear,
It
at
was
least
unclear
as far as I'm concerned. If they did, yeah, if they did say it, I don't
because I
recall.
don't know why Dean couldn't have just talked to the people that he got the Airbnb from
Yeah,
and be like,
right.
but I guess it kind of takes it's a process. But anyway, they're hoping that from this live stream that people will come and help them find his family. But it turns out everyone's there just to take pictures and post on social media. And so you see the devastation, the disappointment from
Hmm.
Marcel, and he's really upset about it.
Yeah, because he's saying, don't you think some people could yeah, provide some help or some feedback rather than just like, oh, that's great or
Hmm.
whatever, however the quote works, and then all those different people that they show coming to the house for selfies.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so he says that, and he's worried that because Nana Connie is deteriorating, she falls off of the washing machine, and so he says, "Oh, we don't want to do this anymore." But then we also have him going out driving with Dean. Oh,
With teen, because which is interesting because yeah, just saying if they were watching 60 Minutes enough to kind of understand a little bit how the outside world works, and that
hmm
was all a new revelation. Like you couldn't just go to a high point and
yeah,
see everything clearly and pinpoint.
yeah. He
There's
thought
that car.
if they go to the high point, that they would be able to find Mark's car. But obviously, especially in LA, you're not going to. And he gets so kind of worked up and gets motion sickness in the car too,
I know
which
he
was really
keeps puking
yeah.
on the
He's like,
map.
sorry, sorry. Um, and I just loved him in his little adventure outfit with
Me
the
too.
match and the. Oh. It was
So
so
great.
cute. Uh, and uh, and then uh, we uh, we find out. So then Marcel is like trying to help Nana Connie, tending to her wounds, and he's getting more sort of protective, and he gets the chance to go on 60 Minutes, but of course he says no, and that's when Grandma Connie and Nana Connie shows that, oh, I'm doing great, I'm doing fine, don't worry about me, and so he agrees kind of reluctantly to go on 60
Right.
Minutes.
Do you think too that I mean, they talk about this well, but it's like in a way he was, trying to protect Nana Connie, but also there was a if I'm thinking
Hmm.
of it correctly, Rachel, this component of uh feel the fear and do it anyway.
Hmm. Well, and also because I don't think he wanted to be disappointed again
Hmm.
by, it's like he had 60 Minutes on this pedestal and didn't
Yeah.
want it to disappoint him like the live stream had disappointed him.
Right.
Mhm. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
And it's so sweet of Nana Connie to she loves Marcel and puts on this kind of front.
Yeah, puts on this front.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just a real thing, showing the way that these two love each other,
Mm-hmm.
and serve and sacrifice for each other.
Yeah, and I love the whole scenes at the beginning with Nana Connie as the gardener and how she's able to get the um, carrots and other
Yeah, me too.
things, and she talks about gardening and everything. This really good, very clever.
Yeah.
And so he decides to go, and that's when Leslie Stahl comes in. And I read there was an article, I should have written it down, but where she was talking about how the whole experience was just very surreal for her, which I'm sure it must
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind
And
of acting
yeah,
because, I mean, did they put a little puppet,
I hope so.
that she that yeah, that she could kinda play to?
I will
Uh,
definitely get this on like Blu-ray or whatever, and I hope there's like tons of the
yeah,
features and stuff.
behind the scenes
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah.
And I love, like we talked about, the dynamic between Dean and Marcel in the way that Marcel's kind of sarcastic and like I said, "You could help me here."
Right.
And he's kind of like uh, teasing him about the fact that he's getting divorced. Like, why are you here? Kind of thing. It's really cute. Um, so yeah, and then we have Nana Connie. She dies during the interview, which is just rip your heart out.
It's pretty devastating.
Mm,
Yeah.
it's so good, and I mean, so sad, but so well done. I mean, I cried, I teared up, and I did not think I would in this movie. I mean, I'm an easy cry, but still, I didn't think I'd cry about this movie about a shell, and I
Yeah.
did. It was so
Yeah.
sweet.
It's so sweet.
Yeah.
It's so tender. Yeah.
I mean, and I had such a close relationship with my grandparents, particularly. I had a great relationship with my grandma Wagner, and I was just thinking about her the other day, and because there's a new Hallmark movie coming out this Christmas about the Rockettes, and I just
Uh-huh.
as soon as I heard about it, I just because my grandma loved the Rockettes, absolutely loved. We had a whole trip to New York that we went on where it was just the to see the
You went and
Rocket.
saw you went to Radio
Yeah.
City Music Hall and
And
saw
that
the
same trip, we also went and saw the Music Man, and this was 2001 revival
Oh,
with Craig
yeah.
Bierko. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so since I had just in March seen the new Music Man revival, and I actually just saw it recently as well, a local production in July. So
Oh, so you
anyway,
could have
just
think about
anytime
your
those
grandma.
things make me think of my grandma, and I miss her
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was perfect that they picked a grandma character, I think, for to be his companion
Mhm.
in this. So then we have the burial of Connie in the garden, and he grieves for her. Ugh,
That little puddle of tears
ugh,
that he cries on the windowsill. I mean, come on.
yeah. And then Dean signs a lease for an apartment, and they locate the 60 Minutes people locate Larissa in Guatemala, and they go to Mark's house, and Mark and Larissa get into a fight. They're definitely a toxic couple.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a toxic couple. And
Yeah.
again, I don't know Jenny Slate and Dean, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
But still,
And then the shell community is discovered there at Mark's house, and they all reunite in the Airbnb with Marcel. They give Grandma and Nana Connie a proper funeral with the whole community,
yeah,
and they all are they adopt a lot of Marcel's innovations.
yes,
There's like tons of
exactly.
tennis balls all over the
Yeah,
place.
tennis ball cars.
and honey all up on the walls.
Yes, they just you climb the walls.
And I just loved the whole thing where he's talking to Dean. He says that I often find myself going to the laundry room, the window alone, and feeling the wind blow through my shell,
Hmm.
because now he's got tons of people and he loves that, and they're all
Yeah,
going skating on the dust and
yeah,
all of that. But he he also misses the quiet as well.
right. And Nana Connie.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. And so we also have Dean begins dating again. So he's kind of teasing Marcel's kind of teasing him a little bit about that.
yeah,
And I just love this movie. It's probably my favorite movie of
oh,
2022.
nice.
It's
Yeah.
definitely either this or Hit the Road, which I loved,
Hmm.
but it's definitely my favorite animated film, and I loved Apollo 10 and a half, so it's pretty high praise.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
I said in my little mini review after I saw it, I said this is like my new comfort watch.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I
Because
mean, seriously.
I just think that it's one movie that I can't actually imagine getting tired of it. I think I could just keep watching it because it just hit me right in the feels.
Mhm.
Um, I said find it in my review. Actually, I said in my written review, I said Marcel the Shell with shoes on or my new comfort watch. That Fleischer Camp and Slave and team have made a truly charming film that should win over even the world's biggest curmudgeons.
That's
And
great.
I said that Jenny Slate could not be cuter as Marcel, perfectly capturing what is needed for this character to come alive. So much of the character depends on the voice due to him having only one eye and a small mouth to capture emotion. And I think that's really true too. Like, so much in her voice is necessary to make it all work. Because again,
Yeah,
he just
Jenny
doesn't
Slate really makes it
he
work.
doesn't have hands, he doesn't have so many other
Mhm.
things that we use to communicate emotion. He doesn't have. And so you really
Yeah.
need that voice.
Yeah, I was really impressed with her performance.
Mhm.
I typically like her animation work too.
Mhm.
I thought her vocal performance in Zootopia was
Oh yeah.
excellent,
Mhm.
and and I mean, very different characters, but it reminded me of it, just
Yeah.
because I think that's one of the reasons why we believe in this is because of
Hmm.
her performance.
Yeah, and she has a lot of vocal performances. She's in The Secret Life of Pets. She's
Yeah.
in the Lego Batman movie.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's true. I also said I'm afraid in describing Marcel the Shell with shoes on, I make it sound more saccharine than it actually is. It's a very sweet film, but it is also touching, tender, and made me tear up more than a few times. It touches on serious issues like marital discord, family loss, death, and especially loneliness. So, yeah.
Nice review, Rach. Very, very
Thanks.
appropriate.
So yeah, I love this movie, and I'm really excited. I want to see it again because I saw it the one time at the screening, but I
All
want to
right.
try to
Yeah.
get out and see it again because I want to support it because I just think it's such a sweet, wonderful movie.
Yeah. It
Hmm.
is. It's just charming, gentle,
Hmm.
authentic,
Yeah.
emotionally authentic film.
Hmm. Yeah.
Really, really uh, a good watch. Highly
Hmm.
recommended for sure.
And I also liked that. I thought the music was really good
I did
in
too.
this. That was really charming. So yeah, let us know if you've seen it, what you think of Marcel the Shell. And somebody did bring up the point that A24 is trying to get to run the market on the googly eyes because they had this and everything everywhere all at
And
once.
everything everywhere all at once with the googly eyes. Yeah. That was a good A24 film
Yeah, I
too.
enjoyed
We
that
should,
too.
yeah.
More than I was expecting because I sometimes movies that are a little chaotic is not I don't love. But it had such a sense of humor about it that it
Yes.
worked for me and I enjoyed it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, I liked that one too. So good year for A24.
I know. Go
Mhm.
A24.
Well, again, if you're listening, let us know what you think. Did you love Marcel the Shell with shoes on as much as we did? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section or on Twitter. And Stanford, how can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark, and I have a movie podcast and blog that's at moviespastandpresent.com.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So make sure to check that out. And if you are listening to this episode on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps us so much. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, which is a lot of fun. We so appreciate your support. And also the merch store, which you can get hashtag animation junkie shirts. So it's perfect. If you're an animation fan, please take a look. And thanks so much. And thanks to Stanford for talking about this movie with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
And
thank you so much, Rachel. So fun.
and we'll talk again next month. Bye, everyone.
Bye.